Hello and welcome to the Friday the 21st. I'm doing a training today about how to create your own branding guidelines. It's something that I offer to my clients when I'm designing logos and things like that. It's a really useful tool to be able to be able to sort of have an overview of not only sort of your logo, especially if it's in different formats, you know, whether it's like a landscape version or more square so that it can fit on a profile image for Facebook or something like that. And also you want to have like your fonts and your logos, your fonts and your colours, and sort of what colour codes, you know, there's different ways of saying what that colour is. And by having it in that sheet, it's really useful to at a glance make sure that you're being consistent, as well as being able to, if you bring someone else on board, like if you've been offered to do some advertising in a magazine, for example, and they offer to do your advert for you, you can send them this sheet and say, right, you know, and you can at least guarantee, or should guarantee, that they will use the fonts that you've asked and the colours. And it's just making sure it's consistent, because good branding, a lot of it is just about being consistent with how your logo is used, the colours and fonts, fundamentally. If you can do that, then you know you're sort of on to a winner, really. And so I was doing a brand guideline sheet for the Lewis Foundation for their free 2-hour session that I did a couple of weeks ago, and that they found that really helpful. And then I did some Canva one-to-one training with Sue Royal for her harmonisation business. And again, like, she didn't, you know, she was using this font and that font, and you know, and there was sort of her branding has evolved over time. And it's like, okay, well, if we're going to do some work together, let's sort of narrow down, like, what fonts are we using, what are the colours, and make sure that anything that she does in Canva going forward follows that. So she found it really helpful. So there's no reason why you can't create your own. In fact, I highly recommend either getting myself to do it for you or doing it yourself. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to share my screen. So I have Canva open. So I've logged into my Pro one. So it may be slightly, looks slightly different than you would see on yours if you've got a free one, but there's not that much difference in terms of how the dashboard looks. So I've actually started doing one for myself, a sort of informal one, a while ago. And I had to update it because some of my fonts had changed. Because I'd upgraded to Pro, I was able to upload my actual font used in my logo. So this, you know, is very sort of basic, really. It's just a reminder of the different colours. I mentioned about the codes. So these are called hex codes. So this is something you can specify in Canva, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, because that's sort of quite useful. I've shown the sort of types of fonts that I use as part of my Lovely Evolution brand, and I've shown sort of the logo there. So I'm going to go kind of one step forward, really, but I'm also going to sort of cheat slightly by using some of those elements in it. But so first of all, with the colours, if you go to sort of the main page or the kind of landing page of Canva once you've logged in and click on something called the brand kit, you can put in your own colours there, and this is a really useful tool, and it's something that's open to being able to do even in the free version of Canva. You wouldn't be able to upload any sort of special fonts, and you can't upload your logo into this bit on it, but you can at least specify up to three colours, sorry, on the brand colours bit, and you can name the colour palette whatever you want. And it's very easy to do that. You can just click the plus, and then you can either, you know, if you're creating, you know, a brand without knowing what the colours are, you could use the colour picker tool, but I suggest you find out what the hex code is, this little code there, because that's a more specific colour number. If you don't have one of those, then that's something that you can decide at a later stage if you're still very new, like building your brand. But as soon as you know sort of what colours you want to use, just pick them there, and you can change them at any time. So there's no reason why, if you're still working stuff out, just pick some colours that you want to use and put them in there. And that you can delete them as well, replace them, etc. So going back to home, so when I do my brand guidelines, I like to use an A4 sized document. I like to use a landscape one, just because if you're opening it up as a PDF, it's sort of filling the screen on your computer, and it's just something that I do. So you could just use in terms of using a specific template size, you could use a presentation, which will give you a reasonable size, or you could create a custom dimensions in the size of A4. So custom dimensions, you can click where it says custom dimensions above or just below that bit there. Also, if you go to create a design, you can also click on custom dimensions there. So I'm going to do it A4, so I know the dimensions of that, so I'm going to put it into millimeters, because pixels or px, that's screen size. So millimeters, make sure that I can get it in the correct dimension. So you click that first, and then a A4 landscape is 297 millimeters by 210 millimeters, and you just create a design. You can also just Google, page sizes, paper sizes, and it will give you the dimensions there if you ever sort of like, what did she say the size of an A4 is? So you can find it there really easily, just Google it. So I've got a nice blank sheet there. So what I'm going to do is go to my uploads, and I'm going to put in my logos that I've got. So I've got this one here, which is to be able to be used on just a white background. So I've got my strap line, which is just sort of a list of the kind of things that I do. I've also got a version which this sits on a coloured background, or even like pictures. So part of my branding is that I've got a sort of like gradient tint behind. So I need to sort of find the image, or I can go back to sort of my other sheet that I did prepared earlier. I'll just do that, be a bit lazy. So I've been able to copy and paste that from another document that I already had. I'm going to position it to the back, so it's sitting behind. So now I can see that I've got a couple of versions of my logo. So it's still the same logo, but I'm keeping in mind that it can be used in different ways. Didn't want to do that. You can just click undo. If you do any mistakes, it's very easy to undo it. So then we just take, just add a bit of text. So I might want to say that, this is a bit of heading text, and it's useful to say what the font name is. So this is Montserrat. Oh, can't spell today. I clicked the caps. Extra bold. You're starting to say, right, what fonts you want to use, and this is, useful for you to sort of get your own head around it, as well as when you're, briefing someone who's doing a website, for example, if someone's doing anyone who's going to be doing anything with your branding, either for you or with you or for yourself. It's just a great reminder here. As part of this brand kit, and you can specify what you want your headings and stuff to be. So I've already sort of helped myself out really. I've done subheadings as this font Diamore, And you can also add sort of other notes, so it could be subheadings and quotes. And I know that I just use it very sparingly. It's not something that I use a lot of. I suggest making the text sort of all ranged to one side. You could also even specify what size you want, but I think for the case, you know, for this you don't need to. You just sort of, it's just about getting it all there, so it's all in one place. I might make that a bit bigger again. And then you can also show examples of a bit of body text, and it's something that I've already got there. But you can set it to be whatever you like, but you just sort of say it's body text and large areas of text. So body text, if you don't know what it is, it's just where you have really like large areas of text, so paragraphs and things like that. It's usually going to be smaller, and you don't want it to be anything too fussy, something that's a clean, nice or simple font, and that's this one is Montserrat as well. So notice on here, this is just sort of a little bit of a top tip as well. On my branding, I only use 2 font types. So I use Montserrat in different weights. So I've got the extra bold and just the regular, but I don't use any other fonts apart from that. And then I use the swirly font called Diamore, and I use that quite sparingly in terms of how I use it. I don't use it too much, and it's in my logo as well. If you've had your logo done by a designer and you don't know what the font is, don't worry about feeling like you have to use the same font in, if you're creating posts for social media or other bits and bobs. You want to use something that fits in nicely with it, but like I said, don't worry too much about getting the exact one, because Canva may not necessarily have it anyway. Just on the sort of note about fonts, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. So in Canva, when you're on the free one, there's certain fonts that are no longer free. And so anything that has got a little crown next to it, when you're in the free Canva, you won't be able to use. So because mine is Pro, I would be able to use these, but you can see quite clearly which ones. You've still got quite a good selection, but not as much as you had before. So just bear that in mind. If you're like, oh, I really like that font, and why can't I use it? It's because you, if you're using the free and you haven't got, it's only available in Pro. So you've got your logo and different variations of it. So show different examples of it, and then you want to put in your colours. So I just like to create, go into shapes. So you go to elements, shapes. I just like a block square, but you could use any of the shapes that are there, to be fair. You could have hearts if you wanted to. If you're wanting to show that you've got quite a sort of a warm, fluffy kind of brand, or it's something in there that you want to, there's no reason why it can't. So I told you a little bit earlier about setting your brand colours. So I've called mine Lovely Brand Colours. And it means that because I've set it up in the brand kit, it always shows up in my colour palette as a separate thing. So I've already got those in place. So I can just copy these boxes and put that in. Ooh. So these are kind of my main colours that I use. I don't really use the other ones so much, because I do have in sort of my workable one, I've got that lighter one, which is actually the colour used in my logo, but I don't tend to use that in my fonts and things like that. So I could include it or maybe not. By doing a brand guidelines like this, if you have got, say, 5 colours that are part of your brand, and you've got the free Canva, and you're only able to put in the 3 colours in your brand kit, this is a really good way of being able to go, right, okay, well, these are sort of my 3 core colours, but I could have some, you know, 2 or more, you know, sort of additional colours. They're usually called secondary colour palettes, and they might be used more sparingly, and it just gives you a bit more variety and a bit more of sort of options there. So then what you could do is make sure that you've got the saying what your colour is. So I'm going to put a hashtag in there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, so you can hopefully see that a little bit easier. So I do already know what the colour is of that, but I'm going to see if I can help you know what that is. So I think if you, so I'm clicked on the sort of aqua, if you click on new colour, it does actually show you the code there. So don't worry if you kind of made up a colour in the past and then you're like, well, how do I find out what it is? Just click on create a box, or, you know, some sort of object that is coloured up in that colour that you've used. So for example, if I get another box here, say for example, I want to have introduce a purple, and I really like one of the purples from the default, for example, and I want to know what it is. It does actually say when you, I think when you hovered over it, it sort of, it came up. But anyway, in the way that I just said, so you've got your object there, click on new color, and it tells me there. So I can then copy and paste that into the document, and I know what it is. And it just means that going forward, you can always be consistent. It's something that I will bang on about a lot. So just to show you again with these, so you go to, so I've clicked on the aqua, I'll click new color, I'll copy that text, I'll put it in there, and now I know that that's what that color is. I'll do the same for this sort of teal green. So I'm selected it, go to new color, I can copy that and paste. There are other colours that generally you need to know for like printing and stuff like that. But if you're just sort of starting out, and this is sort of better than nothing really. I could start getting quite technical about all the different ways of explaining colour, the different things, sort of how colour is made up in printing versus screen, but I think maybe I'd be better off doing that as a sort of separate sort of video or training. So you could prettify this up a bit more if you wanted to. You could make them in the colours. So for example, I could have them in the navy. I could have that also in the navy. You could also show sort of the types of picture styles. So if you you only use like icons, for example, you want to sort of get a flavour of the styles, or if you only want to use black and white images, you could sort of have that set in there. So yeah, so that it's not rocket science, but it is just a really useful way. You know, you can print this off and have that on like a notice board in your office or something, and it's just a bit of a reminder of, you know, what you're doing. It means you can be the brand guardian of your own brand. So that's that. I'm going to unmute. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. So do you guys, either Cindy or Paul, have any questions based on what I've just said?
No, I just need to play.
So have you had a little go with Canva yet? I can't remember if you said you...
I haven't, no, I need to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I need to do a logo and colours and all that, really.
Okay, well, what might be useful, I think I may have mentioned, I have got a logo workshop coming up that may be of interest.
All right.
If you go onto my Lovely Evolution page and click on the events tab, there's a
Yeah.
whole series called How to Create with Canva, and there's different themes. So there's one in March which is how to create your own LinkedIn header in Canva, and then one after that, so April, I suspect, is the logo one. So it means that in the meantime, you could sort of have a little play and sort of familiarize yourself with what's going on, you know, in Canva. The thing to do is just have a little go. There are some logo templates, and there are lots and lots of templates for all sorts of different things. The danger is that you can kind of get a bit too carried away with trying this and that. But if you're just experimenting and having a go in the early stages, I think, you know, you kind of need to find your feet with it. So don't worry too much about the consistency, just see what you like. But as soon as you come across sort of fonts that you like, make a note of it, you know, and colours as well. So they're a good sort of inspiration, but you want to then start forming your own style, as it were. And like I said, being consistent with your logo usage and your colours and your fonts will really help. So Paul has put the comment, useful as you know, because you helped me with my new brand and worked your Canva magic with me. And Montserrat is a great font, mine too. So yeah, so Paul Green has relaunched his networking and more business. It was formerly Connect Networking, and now it is the Business Community. So yes, I got to have a nice sneak peek before it launched on Wednesday. And it was really interesting seeing, you know, the sort of the choices in colours and like sort of some of the branding development there. And so, and I did a great article for the book. Yes, so there was a book launched as well, which was sort of the sort of business toolkit. So I'm going to be doing some posts about that. So I can now say I am a co-author. I feel very proud. Yeah. Yes, I've done an article for the book. So yes, yay! So yeah, so do you have any sort of questions based on sort of any of the things that I covered on this call?
I don't think so at the moment. It's all very new, so I'm sure I'll think of questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
what I'll do is, okay, nothing from Paul. Okay, so I'll wrap up in a second then. So what I'll do is I shall put this into various places. So if you're in my Lovely Canva Crew group, which I think you are, I'll upload it there. And if you think of any questions relating to brand guidelines that you want to ask, you feel free to add it as a comment there, or you can just, you know, do a general post in there. It's really a resource for anyone and everyone who's wanting a bit of help with their design and branding that they're either doing themselves or working on, you know, design bits in Canva. So don't be afraid to do that. And I think we'll be meeting up very soon. I need to get back to the Northampton Library with some dates. So we'll have our
Thank you.
soon. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining. And for those who are watching this on playback, I hope you found that really interesting. Don't be afraid to drop a comment below, and hopefully you can join us next time. The next one is in a couple of weeks' time. It alternates between being a Friday and a Wednesday, so I can't remember the date off the top of my head. I think it's the first Wednesday in March, whatever date that is. I shall no doubt post about that. So yes. Right, well, have a good rest of the Friday today.
Thank you.
Weekend, and take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.